The whole business is run by dangerous middlemen. Some of them are basically gangs. Dapeng shook his head. And the phone carriers are watching now too. The old scam codes can't get through their filters anymore, he said. I smiled. Who said anything about scamming? I powered up the second computer. My fingers settled on the keys, steady and light. We're building something people actually want, something they'll be happy to pay for. I turned and looked straight at him. Your cousin, Erhu. He works at an SP company as a channel manager, right? And he has access to mobile billing codes. I let the grin show. Dapeng's eyes went round. How do you know that? I never said a word about him. I didn't explain. Call him right now. I don't care where he is. Tell him there's a deal that will multiply his monthly numbers by 10. Dapeng couldn't decide if I was crazy or 3 steps ahead of everyone. But he pulled a beat-up Nokia from his ripped jeans and started dialing. While he argued his cousin out of bed, I was already on to the next step. I picked up the AI phone and gave it quiet orders. The screen filled with text, target platforms, Symbian S60 J2ME. Behind me, Dapeng was sweating into the phone, trying to make his cousin believe him. The AI kept building. Core features appeared on the screen one line at a time. Code started writing itself faster than any team of programmers could dream of. A messaging app that worked on every phone with tricks to send messages almost for free. Out in the main hall, the cafe was full of gamers who had no idea what was being born in this back room. The AI reached into its future database and rebuilt everything to fit 2008 hardware. I watched the progress and let myself smile. The phone glowed bright, holographic light rising from the screen as it ran at full power. Every line of modern code was being translated into something a cheap phone from this era could run. Light pulsed from the screen as the project neared the finish line. In 2008, Nokia owned the phone market. People were still pressing tiny keys 3 times just to type one letter, and paying for every single text. 3 platform icons appeared on the screen. S60 J2ME MTK. All green, all ready. The app was called SoulLink, a messaging tool barely 200 kilobytes, built to change everything. My fingers were a blur on the keys. The code didn't come line by line, it poured onto the screen in whole blocks. 3 monitors filled with code, all built in seconds. I watched the AI tear through every wall Symbian had put up. System locks, security layers, all cracked and cleared. The door swung open and cheap alcohol flooded the booth. Erhu had arrived. This is the genius you told me about. I could hear the doubt before I even looked up. I didn't bother answering, I just held up the phone. Your phone runs S60 3rd version, right? Erhu blinked, then slowly pulled out his brand new Nokia. Turn on Bluetooth, I told him. He frowned, but did it, setting the phone on the table next to his drink. The file went through in seconds. SoulLink installed a jar. Install it. Then pick anyone from your contacts and send them a message. Erhu stared at his screen with narrow eyes. If this gives me a virus, I swear I'll break you both. I leaned back in my seat and let the threat float past me. The app finished installing before he could complain again. Erhu opened it and tried typing, just 2 letters on the tiny keys. His whole face changed. The app predicted the full sentence before he finished. He tried again, typing something rude this time. The prediction nailed it perfectly. He grinned in spite of himself. Top right corner, I said. Hit the crush test button. Erhu shrugged and tapped it. A pink screen filled with floating hearts appeared. Enter your crush's number and find out if they like you back. I brought him back to the cafe to see the full system up close. The moment he read the details, something shifted behind his eyes. This feature is insane, Erhu said. You built this to play with people's feelings. Without another word, he was already punching a girl's phone number into the crush test. The screen popped up. Sent. Want to see if she opened it? Unlock VIP for just 2 yuan. The yes button glowed bright pink. Erhu knew exactly what this was, a billing trap. He had worked in the business long enough to see it, but when he looked at me again, the doubt in his eyes was gone. Something else had taken its place. I could practically see gold coins reflected in them. This is just a demo. Give me the billing access and I'll launch it tonight. 50-50 split. He took a long drink from his can and called me kid, like I wasn't worth his time. Then he narrowed his eyes, switching into business mode. The channel is mine, he said, crossing his arms. And the code, I could pay someone to crack it. I pointed at the screen full of thick, protected code. It changes itself every 10 minutes. Without me, nobody can keep it alive. I stood up and turned toward the door. If you don't want the deal, I'll walk straight to Wangqiang. I'm sure he'd love to hear about this. Erhu's face went tight the moment he heard that name. I sat back down with a small smile and let the silence do the rest. He stared at me like he couldn't believe a teenager was doing this to him. I wasn't a teenager, not where it counted. 60-40. Erhu tried, leaning forward. I take 60, I still have to keep my contacts at the mobile company happy. I didn't budge. 50-50, and daily payments. Every noon, yesterday's share goes straight into my account, not 1 cent short. The room went completely silent. Just the hum of the computer fans. Erhu slapped his thigh. Fine, deal. If you really pull this off, I'll call you boss. He reached into his jacket. A small USB drive hung from his fingers by a red string. I took it, full billing access for every major carrier, all on one tiny stick. The next 6 hours disappeared. Dapeng sat in the corner, thumbs flying, posting ads to every forum and message board he could find. The promotional copy came from the AI, every headline designed to make young people click. Find out who has a crush on you. The secret confession tool everyone's using. By 7 a.m., the posts were live everywhere. While Dapeng pushed the marketing, I was still deep in code. Payment systems, billing codes, carrier connections. I wired them all into SoulLink. Cloud storage, network setup, backup servers, one piece after another. I borrowed outside server space as a relay and covered every weak point I could find. The first line of sunlight crept through the dirty curtains. My eyes burned, red lines running through them from a full night without rest. I pressed the last key. The screen read, Project SoulLink, now live. Downloads, 0. Version 1.0 was officially out in the world. Daepeng looked up with dark circles so heavy they seemed painted on. I pushed back from the desk and stretched until my shoulders cracked. Then I walked to the window and looked down at the street. Breakfast carts were steaming. Students in uniform hurried past on their way to school. A small smile crossed my face. Now we just had to wait. By 10 that morning, exams were over at Haicheng First High. Most students had gone home, but a few still hung around the classroom. In the back row, a boy named Zhang Wei was hiding his phone under the desk, grinning at the screen. The girl sitting ahead of him turned around. "What are you smiling at?" Zhang Wei held a finger to his lips. "Let me show you something good." He tilted the phone toward her. "Found this on a forum just now, it's amazing. It's called Soul Link. The typing is super fast and it has a crush test." "That's fake," the girl said, but she was already leaning in. She took the phone from his hands before he could say another word. Two heads together, one small screen between them, warm light filling the classroom. "I put in the class beauty's number from next door," Zhang Wei whispered. The phone showed a match result, and his face turned red with excitement. "I paid 2 yuan to check the details," he said. "It said she has long hair, and she likes white dresses. That's definitely her." The girl's heart skipped. She stared down at the phone in her hands. Slowly, her eyes moved across the room to a quiet boy reading by the window. Her cheeks went warm, and she closed her eyes for a moment. "How do I download it?" she asked, trying to sound casual. "Bluetooth," Zhang Wei said. "I'll send it to you right now." The file was only 200 kilobytes. It transferred before she could blink. She opened it, and her eyes lit up. The same scene was playing out across the city in over a dozen schools at once. Students, college kids, even young office workers, all finding that pink heart on their screens. In 2008, there was no app store. No single place to find and download software. Apps spread the old way: Bluetooth, infrared, and popular posts on phone forums. Phone to phone, person to person, desk to desk. The growth was slow at first, one user at a time. But once the word started spreading, it stuck. And the crush test was the hook that made sure nobody wanted to let go. The crush test hit every young person where it mattered most. Everyone had a secret crush, and now they had a way to find out if the feeling was the same. Who could say no to that? 2 yuan, the price of 1 cola, was all it cost for a tiny piece of hope. Noon. I was back in the VIP booth at Black Eagle, waiting. Daepeng had finally crashed, face down on the desk, drool and all. I sat watching the line graph on my screen, a warm bottle of cola beside me. I had been holding that can so long it felt like bathwater. Daepeng snored on while the numbers on my screen started to climb. Noon on the dot. The line shot straight up, 2,000 users, 5,000, 8,000, still climbing. My fingers hit the keyboard. 3,000 paid orders in one morning, over 6,000 yuan from Haicheng alone. As our post hit the top of every forum, traffic started flooding in from cities all over the country. Then the speaker on the desk screamed to life with a sharp alarm. Daepeng jerked awake and rolled right off the couch onto the floor. He stared at me, still half asleep. "What happened?" "Not the police," I said. "The traffic is exploding." My hands were already flying across the keyboard. Server CPU 99%. Not good. Every bar on the dashboard had turned red. The cheap server we rented was never built for traffic like this. It was frozen solid, not a single request getting through. Daepeng sat on the couch, staring at the monitors from across the room. "Fan, what do we do?" he asked. "If it crashes, everyone will delete the app." I already had a plan. "Swarm mode," I said. "Turn it on." The screen confirmed, scanning the public network for unused computer power. Connection points lit up across the map, first hundreds, then over 1,000 machines. Every idle machine I could reach became part of our network, sharing the weight of all that traffic. Not exactly legal, but right now, rules could wait. The red warning vanished. CPU dropped to 30%, stable. Across Haicheng, in a corner office high above the city, Erhu was living a very different afternoon. Reports from his SP company sat in a pile on the desk, untouched. He was sweating in the heat, losing at a card game on his phone. Then his office door slammed open. A tech worker burst in, out of breath. "Boss, something big." Erhu barely glanced up. "Calm down. What is it?" The tech leaned on the table, gasping. "The payment channel. The revenue went crazy." He slammed a thick stack of printed data onto the desk. 20,000 payment requests in 4 hours. And it's still climbing. Erhu shot to his feet so fast his chair fell over. He bent over the report, scanning every line. 20,000 orders at 2 yuan each, 40,000 yuan in 4 hours. His fist tightened at his side. At this rate, one full day would bring 240,000, a month over 7 million. When most people earned 2,000 a month, that number felt impossible. Erhu's eyes went dark with something hungry. He turned toward the window, but his mind was on the 50-50 deal he had signed with Lin Fan. Half of 7 million meant handing over 3 million a month to a high school kid. The channel was his. The company was his. Why split that kind of money with some teenager? Erhu's voice dropped low, and his face twisted into something ugly. "Can you lock him out of the system?" he asked the tech. "Keep all the money on our side, just change the password." The tech's hands moved to the keyboard. "We could tell him it was a data error," the tech said, "or that mobile froze the account. He didn't type right away." "I can do it," the tech said carefully. "If I change the access code, his app can't charge users anymore. All the money stays here." Something in his face said he knew this was wrong. "But do it," Erhu snapped. "Now." The money had taken over his brain completely. "What's a kid gonna do about it?" he said. "Worst case, I throw him a few thousand and he disappears." The tech looked at him, then turned to his screen without another word. 2 in the afternoon. I was eating instant noodles at my desk when the revenue counter on the screen went quiet. Not slow, 0. Everything dropped to nothing. Dapeng's jaw fell open. Did the server crash again? He asked. I set down my chopsticks, pulled a tissue, and wiped my mouth slowly. There was no surprise in my eyes. If anything, I had been waiting for exactly this. The server is fine, I said, and my hands moved to the keyboard. Someone cut us off. I picked up my phone. The system log told me everything. Error 403, access denied. Erhu's SP company had changed the password. Dapeng's face went red. That bastard Erhu. He's trying to steal all of it. He was so angry he knocked my noodle cup off the desk. I'll go find him and break his teeth, Dapeng shouted. Sit down, I said, and the cold in my voice stopped him. He froze near the door. But Fan, that's tens of thousands of yuan. That's the money for you choose, Dad, he said, and his voice cracked. His eyes were red, and not from tiredness. I know, I said quietly and stood up. I looked out the window at the streets below. The city glowed gold under the late afternoon sky. Greed is the best bait, I said, and Erhu just swallowed the whole thing. If he didn't cheat me first, I wouldn't have a reason to take him down. I turned back to the screen. A network map covered in red dots was already waiting. When I built SolLink, I buried a trap inside the code, something nobody would ever notice. A logic bomb hidden so deep that not even a good programmer could find it. The trigger was simple. If the payment connection failed more than 3 times, the bomb goes off. My phone buzzed with a confirmation message. The bomb was already active. It locked every business channel that Erhu's company had, every single one. And it sent an anonymous report straight to China Mobile's main office, with 3 years of proof that his company had been charging people illegally. He wanted my money. I would take his entire business. At that very moment, Erhu was still sitting in his office, counting his future millions. Then every screen in the building flickered at once. Both monitors turned bright red. Critical system error. Every screen in Erhu's office showed the same thing. Red warning, system failure, core database destroyed. Then the red phone on his desk started ringing. The direct line from the mobile company's investigation department. Erhu picked it up with trembling hands. A cold voice came through the speaker. What the hell is your company doing? We received thousands of complaints and evidence that your company has been charging people illegally. It went straight to the government complaint office. If you want to go down, don't drag us with you. The line went dead, and Erhu's face turned white. His legs gave out and he hit the floor, his phone sliding across the ground. He lay there under his desk, staring at the red screens above. It's over, he whispered. That kid is the devil. 5 minutes later, my phone rang. Erhu's name on the screen. I let it ring twice before I picked up. I said nothing, just listened. Boss Fan, please, Erhu begged. I was wrong. Stop this, he said, his voice cracking. The investigators are already coming. If I go to prison, you lose your money too. Now he understood fear. I leaned back in my chair. You seemed pretty confident when you changed that password. I was stupid, Erhu said, and I heard the sharp crack of a slap. He was hitting his own face. I sat there and let him punish himself a while longer. The split stays at 50-50, I said. On the other end, Erhu was already offering me 70-80%. He didn't care anymore. Just pull back the report, he begged. I'll give you whatever you want, and unlock the system, please. First, you'll bring me 500,000 in cash, I said. 30 minutes, to the internet cafe. If you're short by 1 yuan, you can sit in prison and think about it. I'll do it right now, Erhu screamed. I'm going to the bank. He hung up and ran like his life depended on it. I put down my phone and turned to Dapeng, who was staring at me with his jaw hanging open. Get a bag ready, I said. I leaned back and looked out the window. The city had never looked this good. Half an hour later, Erhu appeared in the doorway, face red, shirt soaked, carrying a heavy black bag. I didn't move. He stared at me like I was something that shouldn't exist. He set the cash on the desk without a word, sweat dripping from his jaw. Dapeng's eyes went wide. The boy looked like he forgot how to breathe. 50 stacks of 100 yuan bills lined up in neat rows across the table. I didn't bother counting. I typed a few lines of code and pressed enter. Done. The system was back online. What Erhu didn't know was that the report had already been sent. A lighter version, just enough for a fine. I still needed his company running. After I sent Erhu away, I stared at the 500,000 on my desk. With today's earnings, I'd reach 1 million by tomorrow, enough to clear Yuchu's family debt. Then my phone buzzed again, an unknown number from Beijing. I picked up. Is this Mr. Q, the developer of SolLink? Her voice was sharp and sure, the kind that never expects to hear the word no. We're from TX's investment team. Your product numbers are impressive. Interested in selling? My eyes narrowed. And if you refuse, she continued, we can make your product disappear from the entire internet by tomorrow. My grip on the phone tightened. I smiled. So it had already begun. I remembered this clearly from my past life. TX in 2008, the king of copycats. Any small product that caught their eye got the same 2 choices. Sell it to them for nothing, or watch them copy it and push it to their hundreds of millions of users until you were dead. That was the law of this era, and most people had no way to fight it. But I was not most people. If anything, I was looking forward to this. Go ahead, I said, but you might want to upgrade your firewall before tonight. I hung up, packed the 500,000 into the bag and threw it over my shoulder. What about the big company? Dapeng asked. Let them feel brave for a while, I said. I pushed the door open and stepped out with Dapeng behind me. The sun hit us warm and sharp. Big companies ruled this world with size, but real skill was the one thing they could never copy. The hospital corridors stretched long and cold under white lights. A doctor walked past without stopping, and the smell of cleaning chemicals hung in the air. Yuchu sat on a bench outside the emergency room, her head down, her hands pressed tight together. Her knuckles had gone white from the pressure. Mud from last night's rain still covered the bottom of her school uniform. She looked like she had nothing left. Nearby, her mother Lu Pingping leaned against the wall, crying softly and holding a thick stack of papers. Debt collection notices, dozens of them, thick enough to use as a brick. Mom, don't cry, Yuchu said, her voice rough and dry. She sat still while her mother cried beside her. We'll find a way. Her mother shook her head. What way? Liu Pingping looked up with swollen red eyes. The surgery money, we managed to get enough for that. But the people we owe called again just now. They said if we don't pay by tomorrow, they're taking the house. This time our family is really finished, she whispered. Yuchu bit her lip until she tasted blood. Then footsteps echoed from the far end of the corridor and she looked up. We came around the corner. I saw them right away. Yuchu on the bench, her mother crying beside her. Dapeng was breathing hard behind me, but I kept walking. I didn't slow down. Yuchu stood up. Her mother looked at us through her tears, confused. Yuchu's eyes went wide when she recognized me. I walked straight to the bench and stopped in front of them. Without a word, I pulled the bag off my shoulder. I dropped it on the bench, heavy and solid. The thud echoed through the quiet hallway. This is 500,000, I said. I said it the way you'd mentioned the weather. Calm, simple, like it was nothing. Liu Pingping stopped crying. Both she and Yuchu stared at the bag. The old woman opened her mouth but nothing came out. I pulled the zipper open, and rows of red 100 yuan bills filled the bag from edge to edge. Yuchu stared at the money like she was dreaming. 50 stacks of cash, packed tight in an old canvas bag sitting open in a hospital hallway. I looked at Liu Pingping. 500,000 in cash, auntie, I said. Pay the worst debts first, the ones where people are threatening you. Clear those before anything else. I took a smaller bundle out and placed it gently in her hands. The rest is for Uncle's recovery after surgery. Liu Pingping stood frozen, looking at the money in her hands, then at me, then back at the money. She couldn't say a word. Her hands were shaking against my collar. Young man, where did you get this kind of money? You're not doing anything illegal, are you? I smiled. Relax, auntie. Every yuan is clean. I turned toward Yuchu, still frozen on the bench. I held out a small stack of bills. What I borrowed yesterday, here's the first part back, with interest. Tears spilled before she could stop them. She stared at me like she was trying to see straight through me. Lin Fan, she whispered. Who are you, really? She was close now, looking straight up at me. Just yesterday I was nobody, one more face in the back of the classroom. And today I had pulled out more cash than her family earned in years, like some kind of magic trick. I saw it in her eyes, not fear, but confusion so deep it hurt. I didn't have time to explain everything, and the truth would only scare her more. So I tried to keep it light. She looked up at me, one small fist near the strap of the bag. Think of it as an investment, I said. A future great physicist is worth a lot more than 500,000. She had no idea what I meant by physicist, but she understood the part that mattered, that I believed in her, and I wasn't going to walk away. With trembling hands, she reached out and took the bag from me. The weight surprised her. Her arms sank the moment she held it. 500,000 in cash is heavier than people think. Liu Pingping stood nearby watching everything. For the first time in days, the panic on her face had started to fade. I refused her offer to write a receipt and turned to leave. Dapeng fell into step beside me. The evening air hit us the moment we stepped outside. Dapeng looked like he was about to collapse. He dropped onto the front steps and sat there, breathing hard. Boss, he gasped. That was 500,000. You just handed it over, didn't even ask for a receipt. He stared at me like I'd lost my mind. I let him sit with that thought for a second. I lit a cigarette and looked out at the quiet street. Old habit from my past life. This young body still didn't love the taste. That money will come back fast, I said. Dapeng looked at me confused. I held the cigarette loosely and met his eyes. TX already has their eyes on us. Hasn't that been obvious? You were pretty bold with them on the phone, Dapeng muttered. I narrowed my eyes. They've already made their move. I pulled out my phone. The numbers told the whole story. The smooth growth line had crashed 10 minutes ago. Active users cut in half. 50% gone, just like that. Dapeng leaned over to look at the screen. His face went white when he saw the numbers. I smiled to myself and opened the messaging app. I sent our download link in a group chat. The moment it went through, a red warning popped up, link blocked, security risk detected. They hadn't just slowed us down, they had erased every trace of us from their entire platform. I tried connecting directly to our server. The address sat there loading, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, nothing. DDoS. They were flooding our server with fake traffic to drown it. I tapped the ash off my cigarette. Standard big company playbook, I said. Block the links, kill the server, choke the traffic. Traffic is everything right now, I said. And they own the biggest social platform in the country. The second they block your links in their chat app, you're silenced. For a small team like us, this should mean death. Dapeng threw his hands up. So that's it? We're finished? Or who just texted me too, he said, face twisted. All the mobile data channels are cut off. He's losing it. I killed the cigarette and stood up. The harder they hit us, the more scared they are. Companies like TX, if they don't fear you, they just ignore you. Or they copy you. They only fight dirty when they can't do either. Come on, I said. Back to the internet cafe. Dapeng blinked. For what? I smiled. Not a kind one. Not to fight them. To send them a gift. Meanwhile, in Shenzhen, the TX corporate tower stood tall against the evening sky. On the top floor, a man named Wang Laowu sat behind a wide desk with his feet up, sipping coffee while his tech lead gave a report. Their server is crushed, the tech lead said, smiling. Every link blocked across our platform. Right now, they're dead. Wang Laowu took a slow sip of his coffee and said nothing for a moment. Then he set the cup down and stood. Just a high school kid who doesn't know his place. The corner of his mouth curled up. He looked like a man who had never once been surprised by anything. Thinks he can challenge us with some clever little app, the tech lead added, eager to agree. Wang Laowu leaned forward, both hands on the desk. In this industry, whoever we decide to kill, dies. The tech lead hesitated. There is one thing, sir. We tried to take apart their core code. Their smart suggestion feature, we can't find any local database for it. He pointed to a network map on the wall screen. It connects in real time to some kind of massive cloud system we've never seen. Our engineers tried to build a copy. Best result, 1/10 the speed. Wang Lao frowned. Then keep attacking the server. Don't stop. Tomorrow I want our own matching feature live, looking exactly like theirs. The tech lead bowed fast. Yes, sir. Wang Lao turned to the window and stared out at the city below. In his mind, this war was already over. Technology meant nothing against money and traffic. What he didn't know was that at that same moment, in a worn-out internet cafe far away, I was already sitting in front of 3 screens. My fingers moved fast across the keyboard. The VIP room was dark except for the blue glow of the monitors. This was my battlefield now. Green code filled the screen, not normal programming, but something much deeper, close to the language that machines actually speak. I was picking apart their security system piece by piece. My AI assistant displayed its findings on the phone beside me. TX's scanner used simple rules to detect threats, old basic methods. I read every line of the report, and I kept typing. There it was, a gap. When their scanner hit a complex file, it would time out and skip the check entirely. Security software from 2008, still running on simple block and allow lists. As long as you wrapped your file in enough layers of protection, their whole defense could be walked right around. I saw the opening on my phone and knew exactly what to do. If they locked my front door, I'd go through the back. I turned to Dapeng. All those fake accounts we registered on the forums, log into every single one. Every platform, every account. Dapeng blinked. Every forum? What are we posting? A free update, I said. My mind was already 3 steps ahead. TX had just rushed out their own matching feature, a cheap copy they built in hours. It went live half an hour ago. I pulled it up on screen. They called it Chat Match, built directly into their messaging app with user profiles and matching scores. Same features as ours, completely free. That was how giants fought. Copy everything, charge nothing, and crush you with size alone. But I had been waiting for exactly this. Generate the code, I told the AI. Codename Trojan Apple. The plan was simple. I would build a small tool, a chat match accelerator. It would claim to crack the VIP features of TX's new matching system for free. See who secretly has a crush on you, no payment needed. The kind of thing people can't resist clicking. The AI started building the trap. My real code was hidden inside. This was the oldest trick in the book. Give people something they want, and hide your weapon inside the gift. In 2008, regular users loved downloading hacks and cheat tools. Free shortcuts were impossible to resist. And the beautiful part, my tool actually worked. It really did crack some of TX's features. It used security holes that TX hadn't fixed yet. But under the surface, it carried something else entirely. The moment anyone ran my little tool, the code hidden inside would wake up, silently, invisibly, and go to work. It would install a tiny driver, only 20 kilobytes. It would not steal data or damage anything. Dapeng stared at me, confused. So what does it actually do? One thing, I said. Whenever someone plugs their phone into the computer to charge or copy music, the driver pushes a hidden service onto the phone. That service was Linksy, rebuilt from nothing, disguised as part of the phone's own system. I kept typing as I explained. The code would quietly rewrite the phone's system files and redirect every chat request meant for TX straight to my servers. Every user TX spent money to attract would end up on my platform instead. Dapeng's mouth fell open. That is insane. He sat there frozen, still trying to understand what I had described. It's called a technical counterattack, I said, and kept typing. I hit enter. The package was finished. It began spreading across the network. 10 minutes later, every hacker forum and software download site lit up with new posts. Chatmatch free crack version leaked. The top post already had hundreds of replies. Each post had a clean download link and step-by-step instructions. The tool actually worked. Real matching results, real names. People trusted it right away. Screenshots and reviews flooded every platform. The post went viral within the hour. The download counter passed 10,000 and kept climbing. Meanwhile, at TX headquarters in Shenzhen, an employee came running down the hallway. The tech lead burst through the office door with a grin on his face. Our chat match just passed 1 million visits, he announced. Wang Lao leaned back and smiled, the smile of a man who believed he had already won. Nobody can beat us, he said. That kid, he's finished. He stood and spread his arms wide. Celebration dinner tonight, seafood for everyone on me. But the celebration never started. Something strange was happening on the monitoring screens. 2 hours later, the tech department's phones would not stop ringing. An engineer hurried over to the tech lead. Sir, something is wrong with our back-end data. We're showing millions of access requests, he said. But the database has 0 user records. Not a single one. The tech lead froze. What do you mean? Users are clicking our features, the engineer explained, but the data is disappearing, being sent somewhere else entirely. It's being redirected to another server, he said, his voice cracking. That's impossible, the tech lead said. Then the big monitoring wall lit up with a pattern no one expected. TX's traffic was dropping fast. Millions of connections were turning away from their own servers. All of it was flowing to a single IP address, shown clearly on the world map. They traced that address. The page it returned looked exactly like Chat Match, but at the very bottom, in tiny gray letters, it read, "Powered by Lin Fan." Thank you for the traffic, Mr. Penguin. Wang Lao's coffee cup hit the floor and shattered into pieces. His face had turned dark red, almost purple. Hackers, he screamed, his whole body shaking. Call the police, right now. We can't, sir, the tech lead said, nearly in tears. They didn't attack our servers. The users downloaded a driver themselves. They're sending us the traffic willingly. And the worst part, the tech lead added, pointing at his screen, the driver also kills viruses and speeds up their phones. Nobody wants to remove it. He bent over his keyboard, exhausted. The users would rather keep it than delete it. It's a poison apple, someone whispered, sweat running down his face. Once you take a bite, you can never spit it out. The red graph on screen confirmed it. All that traffic was leaving TX. Back at the cafe, I sat in front of my monitors and watched. The numbers had gone far beyond what I expected. 3 million daily active users. I read the number twice to make sure. TX had spent a fortune promoting Chat Match, and every cent of it ended up feeding my platform. The live counter was still ticking upward, 2.8 million and climbing. I let myself smile. Dapeng, how much money are we making this time? His voice was almost shaking. I looked at him. We're not making money this time. My eyes were on the screen, but my mind was somewhere else. The mobile internet age was coming, and I had 3 million users already in my hand. What we're building next is not a small app anymore, I said. I walked to the whiteboard and picked up the marker. I wrote one word. VX. I was going to end the age of text messages right here in 2008. If TX wanted a war, I would bring it to their front door. I would tear out the roots of their empire. My hands returned to the keyboard. This time I was going after their core messaging itself. I could see every step ahead, every date, every line of code that needed to exist. I stood and pulled out my phone. Load the Instant Messaging 2.0 framework, I told the AI. Enable Voice Transfer Protocol, the AI confirmed. It was pulling voice compression technology from 3 years in the future and adapting it. On the monitor, the AI processed everything, fitting the code for the slow mobile networks of 2008. Then a button appeared on the phone screen. Big, blue, simple, hold to talk. It was the summer of 2008, June 28th. Outside, the world had no idea what just happened. People walked the streets, shopping, talking, living their normal lives. The Olympic torch was passing through the city, and crowds lined the roads to watch. Every shop played the same welcome song. Every TV screen showed the Beijing countdown. At the stock exchange, investors were crying over numbers that kept dropping. And here in Haicheng, behind the neon sign of the Black Eagle Internet Cafe, inside the VIP room behind a locked door, Dapeng was staring at the screen with food still in his hand. Fanji, is this thing broken? His bun dropped onto the desk. He did not even notice. The graph on screen was no longer climbing, it was going straight up. Data was flooding through the servers faster than we could read it. 5 million installs in a single night. But the number I cared about most was the voice packet data, over 2 million transmissions and still rising. I leaned back and let the smile stay on my face. My body was running on nothing, but my brain had never felt more awake. Dapeng sat across from me, serious for once in his life. I reached for the phone on the table. The screen showed a big blue microphone button. I held my finger on it. Hey fatty, time to lose some weight, I said into the phone. 1 second later, Dapeng's phone buzzed on the desk. The screen lit up, no ringtone, no download bar, just a small voice bubble with a red dot. He tapped it without thinking. My voice came out of his phone, clear, clean, like I was standing right next to him. The screen showed my name and a green audio bar playing the message I had just recorded. He looked at me, then at the phone, then at me again. What is this? I didn't answer any call. It's called a voice message, I said. It uses mobile data, not phone minutes. No call needed. Only data. Dapeng's eyes went wide. He nearly fell off his chair, leaning forward. Then how many messages could you send for 1 cent? I was already typing again. Right now, a data plan costs 5 yuan for 30 megabytes. You could send thousands. My compression algorithm could squeeze a 10-second voice clip down to just 4 kilobytes. 30 megabytes of mobile data meant roughly 7,500 voice messages. Dapeng's mouth fell open. How many? He jumped out of his chair so fast he took it with him and crashed to the floor. A text cost 1 cent each. 7,500 would be 750 yuan. In 2008, that number hit different. People picked every word in a text message carefully just to save a few cents. They shortened words, cut sentences down to codes only their friends could read. Long-distance calls cost so much that people would rather walk across town than dial. And here, behind the neon sign of the Black Eagle Cafe, I had just made all of that worthless. My eyes went sharp. Has Chiwan figured out what's happening? Dapeng pulled himself off the floor and went straight to the computer to check. His hands moved fast across the keyboard, pulling up forum after forum. Their chat app keeps crashing, he said, eyes locked on the screen. Every forum is full of angry users, but people are also posting about Lingzi. The posts were everywhere. Users were calling Lingzi's voice feature a walkie-talkie for your phone, better than anything else out there. I shook my head. Not enough. People were curious right now, but curiosity fades fast. I needed them to feel like they could not live without Lingzi. Outside the window, the first light of morning was already showing. I had not slept at all. I picked up my phone and gave the AI its next order. Start the viral spread, Plan B. The phone loaded for a second, then confirmed the new strategy. Strategy name, Voice Drift Bottle. A user records a message and sends it floating out into the network. Someone else picks it up, hears the voice inside, and if they want, they start talking to a stranger. 10 years from now, every social app would copy this trick until people got sick of it. But in 2008, I turned back to the computer and added one more thing. You choose phone number straight to the whitelist. Every message she sent would reach me first, with no delay. Right then, a soft knock came at the VIP room door. Who's that? Dapeng yelled. Our overnight session isn't up yet. A small, nervous voice answered from the hallway. It's me. Dapeng opened the door, and there was Yuchu standing right outside. Morning sunlight fell on her hair. Her face still looked a little pale. Dapeng almost said something rude, but caught himself just in time. He swallowed whatever it was and stepped aside to let her in. I heard her footsteps and turned my head. She paused at the smell, smoke and stale noodle cups. She wrinkled her nose a little, but she didn't say a word. Her eyes moved past the cables and empty wrappers on the floor, and landed straight on me. I met her gaze. Lin Fan, she said quietly. She stood there in her school uniform, a bag hanging from one hand, looking like she belonged in a completely different world from this room. That sharp edge I had been running on all night just melted away. I stood up. Why are you here? Doesn't someone need to stay at the hospital? I reached for a chair to give her, but every seat was buried under instant noodle cups. My mom is there watching him, she said. Dad's surgery went well. The doctor said we got him there just in time. She looked at me and added softly, that night, calling the ambulance that fast saved him. She placed a lunchbox on the desk and opened it. Inside was warm rice porridge with red dates and a few steamed buns. The steam rose slowly into the cold room. I came to bring you breakfast, she said. Then her voice got quieter. She reached into her skirt pocket and pulled out a